Hello dear viewers, a very warm welcome to our channel. It's very good to have you here. In this video, we are going to have a look at how to inspect ignition switch. The ignition switch is there to supply battery voltage to the different electrical loads of your vehicle. Now we are going to have a look at some of the things that you can do in order to inspect the function of the ignition switch. If you suspect that the ignition key is not functioning properly, then the method of inspection is very simple. All it requires is understanding completely how the ignition switch operates. For example, we're having a look at a 4-terminal ignition switch where we have terminal 75, terminal 30, terminal 15, and terminal 50. These are designations that are used to identify the different electrical circuits that are available in your vehicle. Terminal 30 refers to battery positive. This is where power from the battery positive terminal will be connected to the ignition switch. Terminal 30 is battery positive. Terminal 75 is accessory position. This is where you listen to the radio or anything that is connected to accessory circuit will be operated on terminal 75. Terminal 15 is for ignition circuit. So when the ignition switch is turned to on position, battery will be connected to terminal 15. From here, you can take supply to the ignition coils, you can take supply to the electronic control modules, to the fuel pump. All those parts that are required for running your engine will be powered off terminal 15. And finally, we have terminal 50, which is a starter motor solenoid. The starter motor will be actuated by terminal 50. This will be powered only when the ignition switch is turned to the start position. Now for this particular ignition switch, we have the 4 different positions labeled as follows. For example, the off position is where you can remove the ignition key from the cylinder. This is the off position. And then from the off position, you turn it in a counterclockwise direction. If the ignition switch moves in the counterclockwise direction, then, for example, turn it in counterclockwise direction. If it has a position that is in a counterclockwise position, usually that position is the accessory position. Here, you cannot remove the key from the cylinder. On some ignition switch, on some old model ignition switch, you can even remove the key from the cylinder, even on the accessory position. For this particular ignition switch, we cannot do that. So this right here is the accessory position. This is where we have a connection between terminal 30 and terminal 75. And right here is the off position. When you do it like so, it is the on position. The on position is where we have continuity between terminal 30, battery positive, where we have continuity between battery positive and the ignition terminal. Also, accessories will also get connected right here. And finally, there is a spring-loaded third position, that is the start position. When you do it like so, some ignition switches require pushing them down a little. For example, for this ignition key, you have to push it a little down and then turn it. It is a spring loaded. When you release it, when you let go, it will come back. This is the start position. Right here, we will have continuity between terminal 30, terminal 15, and terminal 50 as well. This one will supply electricity to the starter motor solenoid. This one will supply electricity to the ignition coil, to the fuel pump, to the electronic control module. Anything that is required for turning the engine on. Turning the engine on will be powered from terminal 50. So during the cranking period, all these 3 will get connected. Terminal 75 will not be connected because we have to exclude accessories in order to get full power to the electrical circuits that are required for starting the engine. Now, in order to inspect operation of the ignition switch, all you have to do is check for continuity on respective ignition key positions. For example, right here, when I put it on accessory position, there has to be continuity between terminal 30 and terminal 75. Let's check that. and you can use the beeping of the multimeter. Now, on accessory position, if the ignition key is working nice, there has to be continuity between terminal 30, right here, terminal 30, and terminal 75. See? So the accessory circuit is working nice. This is how you inspect the accessory circuit. So if you happen to have a problem with the radio, anything that is connected to the accessory, simply check by connecting one multimeter lead to the battery terminal 30 of the ignition switch and the other to the accessory terminal, which is terminal 75. On off position, we usually have no continuity between the ignition switch and all the terminal battery terminal, and the remaining terminals should not have any continuity. So as you can see, on off position, there is no continuity. There is no continuity. On on position, this is the on position. On on position, as we have said earlier, terminal 30 will be connected to terminal 75. Battery will be supplied to the accessory. Battery will be supplied to the ignition circuit. So let's put it on terminal 30 right here. And we should have continuity between terminal 30 and terminal 15. Right there we have continuity. And we should also have continuity with terminal 75. There should be no continuity with start. This is how it is. And finally, on the start position, we should have continuity with the terminal 50. Terminal 30 has to be connected to terminal 50. Let's check that. Push it down. See? Terminal 50 is connected to this terminal. And also on the start position, terminal 15 has to have continuity. No change, see? It will have continuity. But when we put it on start position, it should disconnect from the accessory position. See, there is no continuity between terminal 30 and the accessory. So this is how you can inspect the ignition switch. Ignition switch sometimes are designated by this kind of switch. From this switch, you can see these are the different key positions. 0 is the off position. And when you turn it this way, it will go to R, that is the accessory position. And then when you turn it to this side, to clockwise direction from off, that will be the on position. And finally, we have number 2, which is the start position. As you can see, when terminal battery 30 is right now on off position, this battery 30, terminal 30, which is the battery supply, is not connected to anything. But when you turn it to R position, this lever will get connected to terminal 75, which is the accessory. And when you turn it this way, after the off, when you turn it this way, it will get connected to terminal 75. And one position moving from off to one position will also connect terminal 50. So terminal 30 will get connected to terminal 50 and terminal 75 on the first click. When you hold it on a start position, this line will get connected to terminal 50 of the starter motor. And this will remain connected to ignition terminal. So that way you will have battery supply on start and battery supply on the on circuit or on the ignition circuit as well. So this is the schematic presentation of an ignition switch. This refers to the different key positions. Pulling to the right, that will be accessory. One click will be off. Next click will be on. Third click will be the start position. And these are the different designations that are used to show how the ignition switch is connected to the different electrical accessories. Well, dear viewers, that is all we have for you regarding the method of inspection of an ignition switch. If you happen to notice that there is a problem with the ignition switch, you can inspect it by doing so. Identify the terminals, know the exact function of the ignition switch. Then, if you understand the principle of operation of the ignition switch, identifying continuity between all the terminals in their respective ignition key position will help you pinpoint problems with the ignition switch. Well, dear viewers, that is all we have for you regarding the methods to be used in order to inspect terminals of the ignition switch. If you find this video helpful, please smash the like button. If you are new to this channel, do consider subscribing and turn on notifications so that you will be the first to get notified whenever we come up with another video. Until then, stay safe.